I really felt it when Franz Kafka said, "I was ashamed of myself when I realized life was a costume party, and I attended with my real face. This tremendous world I have inside of me. How to free myself in this world without tearing myself to pieces."
If you're familiar with my content and how I challenge and criticize Christianity, primarily evangelical beliefs, then you're also familiar with the absolute vile hate and vitriol in my comment section and in my DMs. I even get death threats. And while I obviously don't want to excuse this behavior, I do have a bit of an explanation for a lot of it. When your entire worldview hinges on this one belief in this very specific God, you cannot afford to have any doubts. For a lot of these people, this is their entire coping system of how they answer all questions in life. And here I am poking holes in it. So while it's not personal to me and I'm discussing beliefs, it is extremely personal to them, and that's why they attack me personally. Their faith is so important, so vital, and so fragile that even doubts from a perfect stranger online sends them into a spiral. But the more sacred a belief, the more it should be questioned.
And rather tear myself to 1,000 pieces than be buried with this world within me. I never wish to be easily defined. I'd rather float over other people's minds as something strictly fluid and non-perceivable, more like a transparent, paradoxically iridescent creature, rather than an actual person.
Okay, I gotta put my thoughts out on this, because my Facebook, I am running my mouth, okay? Talking about this a lot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Black Jesus, undeniable. The man described as having hair of wool in the Bible. There's no question. There's only one person that can have that kind of hair. And now we have that face. Those faces. All those faces. So there's a few things I want to mention in this. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I just posted the other video. Somebody else's TikTok on my account. Go watch it. Fast forwarding. There's a few things here. When you are me and you have studied and seen and know how a lot of white people think in America, most of those people don't know what Doctrine of Discovery is. If you're one of those people, go watch the hour video that I have that explains it. 2/3 of the people explaining it to you. Sometimes it's a repeat, but there's a reason why it's repeated. There is some element of the way that they're saying it that puts it into a different context and gives you the full explanation and what it does. Doctrine of Discovery is the Christian Pope coming to the people and saying, if you're not white, ... and the rest. There is no way to respond to that and say that you are a messenger, a speaker, a voice, a mind of reason, gift from God. You have eliminated yourself fully. Fully. You have made yourself null and void. All of it has just become null and void. Now, that's because I see all the pieces. What this tells and should bring turmoil to every Christian in America, to know everything that I'm saying. It brings great humility. For me, being the person that I have always been, this is an easy transition. But I know most of you, this will not. Q, days into this information, and we are here. What's happening here is they are already changing out the artwork. You can watch. Here you go. And so now we're back, and if you're a person of faith, just go with the acceptance of it. Bring your humility, your tears. Listen to all the words you've said of white supremacy that you've said out of your mouth, down on your knees in tears. That humility you've earned. To make right is to hold those accountable who told you those words. All of them. Correct measure. That's your duty now. It will not survive, and it will bring a great humility to America. There is no other way. I have lots to think on this. Lots to think. And I mean in the grander scheme of what I've been working on. And for 3 years, a couple good years, solid background noise, how do I create a all-inclusive religion? And as I keep saying, every quarter, since I said I had a face, a name, and I could describe it, February 2nd, 2022, every quarter, every season has changed so remarkably. I'm in astonishment. I think we can recognize we are at another season of astonishment. You have to come to the point where you have to accept that every single thing that you see is not reality, is not true, not any of it. Oh, baby, the information that's coming. Oh, get ready. Get ready.
Let's talk about how the Black Christ icon paintings got in Russia. We must remember that these paintings were in Africa first. Most people don't know about the great campaign against the Emperor of Ethiopia, Tewodros II. The Siege of Magdala consists of the British Empire invading Ethiopia, which was called Magdala and Abyssinia in the 1800s. The British Empire looted biblical manuscripts, artifacts, Renaissance paintings, and many other items, including gold. As Jeff Rosen mentions in his presentation of the secrets of England's greatness.
All of these costumes, the artifacts, ended up in British collections. When the British left Africa, the British Museum, the British Library obtained manuscripts. Napier, before he burned Magdala, made it really clear that they were to strip the churches of artifacts, and then they auctioned off the king's blood-soaked garments. So this was absolutely taken back to England as as emblems, concrete and symbolic of the victorious war. So these emblems, the Southwark Kensington Museum, now V&A, has shield and lion mane ornament. Also, this is a refugee from a country that has been defeated, where its capital has been razed, and all of the treasures of the capital have been looted. The British used 2 elephants and 200 mules to sack Magdala and cart off all the treasures. Gold, Renaissance paintings, there's at least one Renaissance painting, and manuscripts, all that had important identity for the country of Abyssinia. With respect to the topic of this machine of British or fostering British identity, I think this gesture also solidifies it. It's British power that has subjugated the Black African on the right, and that's emblemized by the tattoo emblem. Think of bringing Indian elephants to Africa as war elephants, essentially. And at the same time, sheltering one of its native sons, the prince.
Queen Victoria was the Queen of the United Kingdom at the time when Magdala was sieged, and majority of the stolen items were under her possessions and passed down in her lineage, which ruled other lands such as Russia. At the outbreak of the First World War, their grandchildren occupied the thrones of Denmark, Greece, Norway, Germany, Romania, Russia, Spain, and the United Kingdom. For this reason, Victoria was nicknamed the Grandmother of Europe, and some of Victoria's grandchildren married into the Romanov family, aka the Russian Empire. So these icon paintings are in Russia because of what the British Empire did to Ethiopia. Not because these paintings come from Russia, but because they were looted in Africa. This is why Queen Victoria quoted, "I should so love to lay my crown at his feet," which is the risen Christ.
شو معلم قصفه؟ اسمع لا 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 لحظة ميشيل صلي على النبي روح طلع طول بالك اطلع من البيت على السريع اطلع من البيت لا انزلوا على السريع انزل لا
يلا
سكر يا مشاهد سكر خد اهلك وروح سكر
يلا بقى
خد اهلك خد اهلك خدهم نروح.
As you know, PTSD is initiated when disconnection between the mind and body occurs, which often happens when we are denied the right to feel our feelings and the agency to know that we are the masters and authority of our own bodies and lives. Trauma and the unbound body states, agency is the innate aspect of ourselves that we often lose when we are overpowered. While it is commonly accepted to link this to big T traumas like SA and violence, most people overlook the effects of this happening in subtler ways. When overpowered in a slow, chronic way, by being told repeatedly that our own perception and understanding is not accurate or simply does not matter, we lose our ability to experience the feeling of wanting something, to know what it is we want, and then to go for it. Meaning, when we are denied our own perceptions in childhood, we abandon self-agency and disconnect from the innate part of ourselves that decides who we are and what we want. We can be overpowered by not being heard or by not being valued. Whether the trauma is severe or mild and chronic, the result may be the same. In Growing Up as the Scapegoat to Narcissistic Parents, the book states, when a parent is emotionally close to a child and respectful of the child's autonomy, a secure attachment bond can be developed. As a securely attached child matures into adolescence, then they can increase their domains of independence. But when the parent can't attune to the child's inner world, the child's need for the parent will compel them to abandon their own inner world to match that of the parents. If the parent is treating the child as if they are bad, then the child must believe this to protect the flimsy attachment to the parent. Famous humanist and psychologist Carl Rogers states, our core selves warrant our trust and respect for navigating this world. This means that in order for us to believe in ourselves and that we can navigate this world, take care of ourselves, and trust ourselves to make good decisions, we must be allowed to have bodily autonomy, self-authority, and the right to be curious in childhood.
I'm just going to close that I'm frantic and scared and trying to catch it all just as quickly as some of you, and imposing the information into all that I already know. As I keep saying, ask the questions again and again and again. Even though you think you've dropped anchor, ask the questions again and again, all of them. You don't even begin to have freedom to be a free thinker until you can learn how to roast a whole eagle over an open fire and skewer left to right, both breasts. And for many of you, dip it in ranch. I will dip mine in blue cheese, but you know, don't make me mad. Don't be mad at me. I mean to say, we are all in this together. Whether you are religious or not, you got to get on board with truth and begin whatever process of all this information. You begin your own process. That's your journey. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay just to exist without a purpose. Just sit tight and decompress. Take the information in. But don't take too much time. And there's a lot, baby. I've been working on this book for 34 years. There are parts I'm going to try to some of it's going to be kind of irrelevant because you sort of want to think that me being the person I am and the information and it's going to all be there. Quick, culture's gotta, we're already seeing, like I said, shown in the video. Places in the world, that's not the first one. They're already Black Jesus, okay? They're already steps ahead. They're already there's no, we're not playing this deny game no more. And it's gonna unravel a lot of places who have built the identity on the white Jesus. Oh, you babies! Oh, oof. Okay, so there's just you're in trouble, baby. You are in trouble. Okay, so you shot your own foot. So I want to finish with this. This is a concept I'm just learning to understand from conversations in different places. Here's what I want to say. Jesus was against the church. Jesus was a man who carried a magic wand. I now see him as this, and I talked about this recently. This is before the Black Jesus thing. I talked about how I felt like I could kind of zone in on this. He was the embodiment of spirituality, almost like the tarot card sort of man, the hippie from Northern California. I was beginning to see that as being the Jesus. And then trying to understand some different aspects of Christianity and the Middle Eastern or Black Jesus that's kind of told in Africa, and even just super fasting to adding the information we know now. Jesus is just like I said, a man of the spiritual world, not the organized religion. And I'm trying to grasp the new language that it's redefining what it means to be an atheist and someone who's spiritual, and there's a disconnect, and I'm trying. This is what I'm trying to learn now. I have a lot to work, and if you understand this, or if you don't, this is an important thing. From the perspective of the Black African Jesus, Middle Eastern, however you want to, but it's still all part of Africa. Egypt is part of Africa, so we're just the African Jesus. You can't be spiritual and be an atheist. Spiritual different than religious. Obviously, you can't be an atheist and religious because that's that's all encompassing. But in that aspect of understanding Jesus as spiritual man, you can't be an atheist and spiritual. In America, I can say safely that you can be spiritual and an atheist. And I think most would agree. Spiritual, it can be, healing stones, flame meditation. It can be a lot of spiritual things that bring a person to their center and give sort of make them think out of body. You don't have to be a believer in Jesus or religion, which is atheist, if against. And bridging that understanding is going to be interesting for me. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to close on that.